Okay, so now we are in ZBrush. We are gonna import our wrap plane and also our head OBJ file in here. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be fixing some parts of our texture, and we're also going to be projecting the texture that we have on our plane, the wrap plane. We're gonna project it on our 3D head that we have already have UVs for. We have already unwrapped it. So we're doing that so we could lay out the texture that we have created on our plane. We're going to lay out that texture onto our model that already has a UV. And that UV, that texture is what we're going to be using as our color map. Okay? Okay, just follow me here and let's go to cylinder. And let's click and drag onto our scene. Go to edit mode. And let's go to subtool and let's import our plane. So Maya, Samuel render, and I have it in the OBJ section, wrap. And this is my plane wrap. Double click on it. And there it is. So this is the one that we just worked on earlier. And let's also bring in our 3D model, the base mesh for our head. Let's go and append and bring in another subtool, and on that subtool here let's go and replace that, import, and find our head. So it's going to be the one that has been scaled down right there. Alright, so you should see it fitting in properly. And let's go to our select the subtool where we have our plane wrap. Okay, this is where we're going to be manipulating. And we need to see our texture on this plane. So let's bring in our texture. Let's go to texture, import. So this is the one, albedo. And for the texture again, click on that texture and make sure you click on flip V. So it will flip it vertically in order for it to work properly onto our head here for our wrap plane. Okay, so we have the texture right here. Now we gotta just scroll down and let's go to our texture map and then click on the texture map here and let's choose our albedo, our color map there. Alright, and if you see and you click on solo, you should see the color map's been applied on there, the one that we have done in wrapped. Okay, and let's go and set it to skin shade 4. We need this so we could see better what we're working with when we are projecting our map or fixing our color map here. And let's go and bring back the head that we have. And let's go ahead and turn on transparency and turn off ghost. Now what we need to do is we need to fix our wrapped head here so that it is fitting in as nicely as possible on our head that we have here. Okay, we're gonna have to lay it out as cleanly as possible. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna be using, I like to start out with a move brush. Just gonna move things and smoothing it out also. So I'm looking here is definitely an issue here, and I'm just gonna turn off the symmetry for this because as you can see the ear is not symmetrical. So it's just moving stuff around and solo. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to I like to see the mesh from the inside, so I'm just gonna go to my display properties and turn on double-sided. Okay, and I could go ahead and mask this area out because I'm gonna be moving this. Control I to invert, and then with my move brush I am just gonna go ahead and move it, and move it so it's not sticking out so much, and smooth it out. Okay. And let me just unmask this, control and drag. So yeah, just take your time to fix things here. Okay. And also I'm gonna just smooth this out. So the spikes there, I just want to go there and smooth things out here. And then later I'm gonna go back and try to fit everything in onto the face. Okay, and then turn on solo so we could see. Smooth it out and smooth it. I also like to move on the side here, making sure everything is closely fitting in as much as possible. So we need to fit this in so that later on when we project our texture, because later on what we're gonna do is the texture that's on this wrap plane, we are going to project that onto our head here, okay? Because this head has our UVs, okay? And we're gonna be using those as a color map. Okay, so back here. And I like to use the inflate brush to just inflate the ears a little bit. Inflate the sides. Solo. Okay, and I'm gonna move again. So yeah, take your time on this. You want to try to get it as accurate as possible. And the more time you take on your texture, on your color map, the better it'll be, of course. And then on to the other side, you cannot abandon the brother of the other ear. And I'm also going to inflate the brush. Inflate a little bit here, inflate the sides. So you want it to really conform to the shape as much as you can. Conform to our 3D model, the head of our character. And that way too, we could see how accurate our texture is. And that's exactly what we need. Yeah, you gotta make sure you are definitely looking at all views. We are going to subdivide our model, our plane, and that'll be in a few minutes. It's good to work with low resolution for our plane, just so that we could move the bigger shapes in place for the ears. All right. And you could also check out the flat color. That will make it easier for you. I'm gonna stick to skin shade. And for this, I am now going to subdivide the plane. Go to geometry and subdivide it up to 3. And I'm gonna go to the dam standard brush, and for this one, I'm just going to locate here where the lips are going to be. Using the dam standard brush, just tracing out the lips. So I know where it starts, where it ends. Okay. And good. Now so knowing that it's there, let's smooth it out. Smooth it out. So I know that this has to be moved down. I'm going to just trace this out. Trace this out here and here. Okay. So right now I have the 3D model head just hidden, okay? And just tracing out the lips for our rat here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna move it down to just make it match. You want the texture to match up, the color information of the lips to match up for where the actual lips of Samuel Jackson, of your character, is, okay? I mean, if you guys are doing Samuel Jackson, that's cool. But I suggest that after you follow me and you kind of get a basic understanding of how this works, a way for you to really know and understand what you have learned is by doing your own, applying what you learned to creating your own likeness. Okay, I have no problem you following me, but yeah, I suggest that you guys also do your own thing, you know? Do your own thing. Okay, and smooth it out. And I could use the clay brush just so I know exactly where it's going to be, the lips. Okay, I think yeah, I think the lips is placed where they need to be. The lip texture is aligning up. Okay, now I could, so yeah, the purpose of this is just to try to get the texture aligned up as much as possible on our character's head. This is the point of this. But we could always go back and project our texture here again, in which what we will do. And while we're here, I could go ahead and fix the nasolabial fold here. Okay. And add some clay here. And for the eyes, let's check out the eyes. I'm gonna solo this and I'm going to outline eye area here, and also start so just adding and marking those eyes and then bringing back our shape. Let's see other could use different types of, play around with different types of shader here. whatever will make it easier for you to see the eyes and if everything's aligning up properly. I think this is pretty much good. And just going back to skin shader. Turn it on. And I'm just going to bring this out. And let's see the ears here. Probably I could bring it down subdivision and check out the wires. Alrighty then. Okay. And crank up the subdivision again. Okay, I just want to double check the ears again, so make sure everything is all good. As accurate as possible, because when we project this, we don't want too many issues with the projection. Okay, we could smooth this out. Okay, I think everything is fitting in nicely. I think we could now project our texture that's on our wrap plane. We could project it onto our base mesh. Alright, let's turn up the transparency. Let's go to our subtool and let's go and click on our subtool where we have our base mesh. And what we want to do for this is we want to go to geometry and subdivide it up to, okay, 3 times is fine. Okay, the higher the subdivision, the clearer the photo will be projected onto our model. Okay, so subdivision 3 is fine. And now I could go here and go to before we project it, there's actually one thing that we gotta do first. Let's click on our plane wrapped. Okay, right now that's the only thing showing. Let's go to our texture. Actually, let's go to Polypaint, and in Polypaint we need to click on Polypaint from texture. So what's gonna happen is this will be converted into from a texture onto a Polypaint, and that's what we need in order to be able to project the color information onto our base mesh. Yeah, so let's click on Polypaint from texture. All right, okay, once that's done, you can go to geometry now, go to subtool, go to our head 3D model that we have for the base mesh, and we could project. Go to where's the project, go to project and click on project all. And it's asking, would you like to project polypainting to the active subtool? This is what you should see, all right? Because we have turned the texture into a polypaint. And click yes, we do want it to be projected on our base mesh. Just wait for a bit. Okay, so we got some issues on the eyes and also on the nose. Just gonna undo that, Control Z. Okay, what we need to do, if you see some issues there, I think it's best for us to go ahead and mask out those problem areas. And when we mask this out, if we project our polypaint here, then we're not gonna see the polypaint projected on those masked areas, and that's fine. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna bring our texture and do manual projection on those areas where we're missing some polypaint. Okay, all right. And also I saw some on the nose, some issues on the underneath the nose, and I thought I saw some on probably the ears here. I think that's what I saw. So also inside. It's okay, those are easy to fix when you project them. And let's go ahead and project all and press yes. Okay, and as we could see, let's go ahead and unmask the stuff that we have masked. Control click and drag into the background. Alright, we see that those things that we masked are white, and that's okay. We're going to just project our texture there. Let's go to our texture here, okay? And what we need is going to be the texture that is not flipped, which is this one. This one is flipped? Okay, we need something that's not flipped. So we gotta select here and flip vertical. Alright. And for this one, we're gonna add it as a spotlight. So with this selected, let's click on add to spotlight. Okay, so we got our stuff here, and you can just click and drag the middle circle to drag it to the side, and you could scale it down, and we could, what we're gonna do is we're gonna project the textures that are the areas of our character that do not have any skin color information. We're going to project our photo here onto those areas, okay? So, and I also like to mess around with opacity here. Maybe something like this would be fine. Okay. And I can just leave it there. And I'm gonna press Z on the Z to hide the spotlight. And now all I see is just a photo. And I'm gonna go to my standard brush. Make sure that I have only RGB turned on and Z-add is turned off. So we are not sculpting on a mesh. So we only have the RGB information as we paint. And let's go ahead and start painting this. So I'm projecting part of the texture that's on the face on the eyes. And I could also do it here on the side. And you could always press Z on your Shift Z on the keyboard to hide the texture. And here also. Oops. Looks like I flipped it. My goodness. I accidentally flipped it, but that's no problem. I'm just going to flip vertical again. That's no issue. And add to spotlight again. Alright, easy fix. Alright, and I'm going to... I saw a little bit of issue. Okay, we need to paint this out. Also here. We don't want to miss any spots at all. Also on the nose. So the area that I really like to use for this is just the cheek area to fill in those missing textures. So here, here, and also here. So look in your character in all views. You could see the nose there. Oops, looks like I'm adding the lips on the nostrils, and we don't want that. Alright, now I'm gonna do the ear area. So a lot of the times I just leave this photo in one place and I just move the 3D model, navigate the 3D model here and find a spot that I want to paint on to the mesh. Okay, and also here. And the skin shading material is a good shader to use when you are painting, so you could see exactly if you are missing any parts of the character, any spots that you're missing when you're painting. And onto the other side. So guys, this is what's really done in the industry. Just projecting the reference photo onto the head bus for a color map. And that's how the stuff that you see in the movies or films, that's how they look so real. But yeah, it's not just the color map though, it's everything else. All the other maps that comes with it. Specular map, displacement, all plays a role to making stuff look realistic, okay? Okay, and see. And we also have, of course, the white areas here at the bottom and the top. We're gonna have to fill those out and project our color map. Just gonna scale it down a bit. And up. And for this one, I'm actually using the symmetry for this. I have symmetry turned on, so because I know the head is not really asymmetrical, so this would work. And I'm also gonna get rid of the hair here. See, it's an easy way to do this. And also here, just painting those out. And back at the head. And back at the ears. And there's a little bit hair here and I don't want to keep the hair, so making sure that I get rid of that. So you might want to shift Z to sometimes turn off the spotlight so you could see exactly what you have, what you're working with so far. Okay, and a little bit of problem there. There you go. Make sure you don't miss any spot, and I see another spot that I missed. So here, as you can see, my brush is really soft, so it blends in. I'm just using a regular standard brush, and it works nicely because as I'm projecting, it just blends in properly with the color. And I have symmetry turned on, which is really nice. You get things done really quick with this. And also here, just paint this out. And then to the neck. And no problem at all. The neck area. Now you could do this in Mari also if you like, but since we are already here in ZBrush, hey, why not? And what I like about ZBrush is it automatically projects the paint on here without having to bake. In Mari, yeah, after you paint, you gotta bake because you are dealing with higher resolution textures and more information is needed. So, but we could get pretty good results with this too. Pretty good results. And let's look around, make sure we're not missing any spot, particularly around here. Here. Shift Z. Okay. So we got our color information. Let's look and go around. Missed a little spot here. I think that is a spot. I think so. Okay. Or that could be part of his skin, not too sure. Could be part of his skin. But just to double check. Alright, I want to look all around, and I think there could be a spot here. Just take a look at everything, and I don't like that discoloration. And also here. So look everywhere, guys. Make sure that that everything is painted. You gotta be really aware of where the things need to be. Okay, now what I want to do next is I want to do something about the discoloration. Let me see here. I still have subdivision. Okay, subdivision 3 is good. So yeah, it's always good when you're poly painting or projecting texture that you have it on a high subdivision level, as much as what your computer can handle. Right now I'm on subdivision 3 because remember when we have exported out our base mesh out of ZBrush from our original sculpt, it was subdivision 3 already. So now adding some more subdivision will basically crank that up to probably, it says subdivision 3, but you know, it's really more than that. Okay. And I see that there are some discoloration here. And subtle discoloration is fine, but I think it's a little too much. So I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to go to my stroke here and set it to color spray. Alpha, I'm going to use Alpha 07. And I'm going to sample one of the dark tones on the texture, probably around here. So I'm going to just hover my mouse over around this area and press C on the keyboard. So I have sampled that area. You could see that's been sampled. So now I could just begin painting. Okay, I think it's a little too dark. I'm gonna get a mid brown. Okay. Okay, something like that. Okay, so I'm just painting over it so it's not so discolored. Subtle discoloration is fine, but too much discoloration would look like he has skin issues, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you want your character to look like. But in my case, Samuel Jackson, he has a pretty nice skin, so I mean, ain't no wrong with having discoloration, but you could still have nice skin if you have a discoloration. But you know what I'm saying. I'm just gonna go back to my regular alpha brush because I see that there's a little bit of the hair indication there because we had a hairline there. So I think that needs to go away. I think so. Alright, I think that's now also here I see a little bit of hair there. So just got rid of that one too. And I'm gonna go back to my color spray and onto my Alpha 07 and fix a little bit of the discoloration here. So right here also, and a little bit here and here. So look at your stuff from far away. You might see things from far away. Texture that you are missing could become visible from a distance. And I want to do something about this. I'm gonna go back to my regular brush, and I think this area could be fixed. Shift Z. Could do something about this. Alright. I think for this one, I'll just manually paint it. I'm gonna sample the color from here, and I'm gonna go back to my color spray and play with this a bit. And I could just, I want a solid color here. Okay, I think that's actually just the sculpt. So this is a time when you have to go back and forth with your work here. And with Samuel Jackson, he has a little bit of purplish color, pinkish purple color on the lips. So I want to add a little bit of that tone, lighter tone here. I'm going to bring down the intensity a bit, and I'm going to bring back to a regular brush. Actually, I'm going to have to bring down the RGB intensity, not the Z intensity, but the RGB intensity, so that it's not so harsh as we paint this. So just a little hint of purplish pink color. Yeah, not too much. Just a hint of it. Okay. Yeah, something like that. And we could also, on the caruncle area, around here, we could add a little bit of pinkish tone to it. Yeah. So, I'm going to just color this a bit. And also here. So we don't really want it like fully brown. Something like that is fine. And let me bring down the subdivision level to see that everything's all good. Okay, so yeah, I need to bring down the subdivision levels to see if you might have missed any part off the color here. Which this I have missed. Or I think that's just a problem with the mesh. Yep, that was just a problem with the mesh. So I just had to smooth it out. Let's go look at other areas. That's fine. Okay, I think we are done here. Done painting this out. Oh, we gotta, the eyebrows are showing. We wanna get rid of those eyebrows, because what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be creating our own XGen hair in Maya. So we don't need the eyebrows there on our texture. So let's go ahead and fix that. Bring up the RGB intensity again. And just go ahead and paint this out. Also here. And here. So make sure there's no leftover hair anywhere. I mean, a little bit is fine. But for the most part, yeah, we definitely need to get rid of it. Alright, and also, let's not forget. Okay. Okay, now that we are done with our, actually I want to do something with this. I want to add a color spray around this area. Right, so it's not so heavily dark, and also around here, so it's not so not too much discoloration. And we could also go to a flat color so we could see better. Alright, so if you're on flat color, you could really see if there's any problems with the painting. So this one is a little bit too much. So yeah, using the flat color, you could see more what's going on. And so yeah, guys, just take your time to try to really make this look as good as possible. There's no rush. No rush in this. You're gonna be happy you didn't rush. Yes, you're gonna get really good results from using this photo reference. Okay. Look here. All around. A little too much. Okay. Maybe here. Also here. Yeah, it's good to really see this in the using flat color material. You can really see what's going on if you have major issues with the paint. Okay, and here. Yeah, subtle discoloration is fine, but we don't want to go overboard with it. Okay, now here and here. Okay, I think maybe we could mess around with our color here. Bring down the RGB intensity a bit. There you go. So everything is blending in properly. It's getting there. So it's a mix of projection of the photo and then manually painting, which is fine. And these Samuel Jackson do not have those, so I am going to get rid of those. And also here, get rid of those. And this here, we don't really want that. It's a little too deep. Okay. Okay, so we are almost there, guys. We are almost done painting this out. We're gonna be exporting this out as a color map pretty soon. We are almost there. Okay, I see a little bit of problem here. Yeah, we could further fix this. Shift Z. All right. So going to fix this area. Also here. So it looked like he still had eyebrow, so I don't want that to show. So yeah, already look at your piece. Try to get as accurate as possible. So yeah, it'll take some time, but it's gonna be worth it. Take some time. And here we see a little bit of issue. And let's see the inside. Okay. And let's not forget to fix this. That one could, you don't want the nose there to have black, because the model itself will have that shadow, so there's no need to have that there. And okay, maybe this one we could add back. You could do something about this lips here. Could paint a little bit of the lip color. 100%. Is it? And going to rotate again and paint this out also. Alright, so making sure there's no white at all. I think that's just a mesh problem. But yeah, we're almost there, guys. Almost there. Just a little bit of touch up. You're trying to get this as perfect as possible. Okay. Okay, so I think we are all good. Everything's done. And let's export out our texture so we could use it inside Maya. So to export our texture, let's go to our poly paint here. Actually, let's go to our texture map, and let's go click on new from poly paint. So it will create it will place those poly paint, the thing that we projected here, this texture, onto our UV. That. Alright, so there it is. And let's go and clone texture. So now we see it right here. Okay. And we could go to our texture, and basically there it is. Okay. This is it. And we could export this out. Okay, before we export this out, make sure we click on flip V. Alright, so it's been flipped. And what we also need to do is we need to make sure that our texture resolution is not 2K. We want to make it higher than that. Alright, we want at least 4K or up. Alright. Let's go ahead and set this to 4096. If you want to do higher, then that's fine. 4096 is fine for me. And then we gotta make sure that we click on clone. There you go. So we have created a duplicate of our color map, but just in higher resolution. You see, this is 2048 and this one is 4096. So this is basically what we need right here. Click on that. And what we need to do is export that out. Export.